Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video, and I thought I would go ahead and upload one today to show something that I have been testing and looking at for a while, and I feel really happy about it. And that is a custom scanner that I have been using to help find really nice grinder type stocks during the day. And what I mean by that is a stock that looks like JPM and how this moved up today. Notice the very tight move higher and how it is consistent. There are no aggressive pullbacks, anything like that. The volume is really nice, just consistent strength all day. I can go ahead and put up an overlay of the SPY. Doesn't matter if the market is chopping around like it was today. This thing wants to go higher, and it's nice and orderly, and that is excellent because we know that buyers are in here supporting this move and they are hungry for the stock. Now, before I just jump right into what the scanner is doing, let me just go ahead and say that regardless, if the market looks like this or this, like it has today and yesterday, where it's just a bunch of low probability, choppy, low volume movement like this, where there's really no rhyme or reason for anything happening, and you see mixed candles with long tails and wicks, honestly, the best move is to just do nothing. Just wait for better trading conditions to come, because they're going to. Even though when you're sitting during the day watching this unfold, you feel like this is just never going to end, it will. And if you can stay patient during all of this crap and not FOMO into things, you're already doing better than 99% of traders, because most traders are going to be trying to look for a trade during this, which is fair to be looking for something, but to force a trade, especially in an environment like this, that is not what you want to be doing. Now, with that being said, this custom scanner that I have will find really nice stocks no matter the kind of day it is. So whether it's a trend day or it's a bunch of mindless chop like it was today, it's going to give you some good potential trades to take. Just keep in mind that you always want to take the highest probability trades. And with that, you need the market to provide you with a tailwind for longs or a headwind for shorts. And without that, like we have seen today and yesterday, you're naturally going to have lower probability trading conditions. So with that in mind, if you are going to take a trade out of this scanner on a day like today, trade smaller size. Just be realistic and recognize that the day is just, well, gonna do this on very light volume. And it is especially important to remember that these kinds of days where there's just nothing going on, they are especially prone to some random BS recycled news drop where all of a sudden there's maybe a nice tiny little move up in SPY and some stupid piece of news that's already been out hits the wire and you get a long red candle that erases the last 4.5 hours of movement. Days like today are very susceptible to that. So just food for thought and to keep in mind. But with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the scanner. Now, I have split it up into the bullish and bearish side. So for the bullish counterpart, I call it grinder, as in it's grinding up like JPM. And for the bearish counterpart, I call it leaker, which I don't know, I guess it's consistently leaking lower all day. Now, let's go ahead and just look through the stocks in this grinder list for the bullish side. And I'm not going to even bother looking at the D1 charts. I just want to show you what these stocks look like on an M5 basis. And keep in mind that this scanner, in my opinion, is best used once the trading session is at least a few hours in, because by that point, most of the stocks that are making nice orderly moves, kind of like JPM, they have their initial, I guess, boost of momentum or inertia to keep them going. And it will also help to filter out the, I will call it fake moving stocks, or stocks that make huge moves during the beginning of the day, like TSM, for example. These stacked huge green candles, if you FOMO'd in right here, Well, guess what? It pulled back, and now you're like, oh crap, I did it once again. To be fair, TSM did recover by the end of the day, but this scanner is not going to include something that looks so volatile like this does early in the day. So that's why you want to wait until at least a few hours have gone by. So here we're just going to walk through these really quickly. So here's TOST. This had earnings this morning or after the close yesterday. You can see a nice little move higher, pulled back to VWAP, nice little grind higher. By the way, I will be showing you what settings I have for this grinder scanner. So let's just walk through these charts really quickly. So there's AES, not bad, grind up, compress for a bit, and then you move higher. Keep in mind what the market looked like today. Bunch of nothing. HPQ is beautiful. Much like JPM, look how nice and consistent this thing is all day long. The volume is extremely heavy. Buyers are in here just gobbling up everything. There are no dips because anyone who's taking profits or trying to sell this, their shares are getting eaten up by buyers. Buyers are not letting this thing drop, and that is why you get this nice, consistent grind higher. This is beautiful. I don't know what the D1 looks like, and I'm not going to look, but that's besides the point. We're just looking at these nice 30-degree looking grinds higher. CRBG is nice. ZIM also looks pretty nice. Pins, could be better. JPM, we already looked at that one. Excellent. NEE, not bad. And so forth. These all look pretty nice. And you know what? Let's just leave it like that. I guess we won't go through every single one of them. To be fair, there's only a few left, but let's just get to the point. This is what the custom scanner looks like. Notice that I have relative strength to the market on an M15, M30, and H1 basis. And again, the reason why this works particularly well after the halfway point through the day is that this H1 relative strength, by the time the market has had a few hours to go by, anything that is actually strong on a medium-term basis will have that relative strength pick up on the H1 time frame. And assuming they have kept their strength on an M15 and M30 basis, this is going to produce some nice candidates. Then you add some sugar on top. I want a trade signal across the same time frames. I want a 3-8 crossover where the 3 EMA is above the 8 EMA on these time frames, and I want a bullish state of LRSI across the same time frames. If you go down to the lower section, I'm just looking for stocks that are above $10, have an option liquidity rating of -5. I don't want ETFs. I want something that is above VWAP, and I want something that is above the prior day's high. As far as the daily chart goes, not really looking for anything specific. Notice that I don't have relative strength marked on a D1 or I guess longer term time frame. I'm just looking for something that is at least ideally somewhat kind of bullish, meaning it's above a VWAP E and it's SMA 20 on the daily chart. And again, this is what produced this nice list here. And if we go to the bearish side, it's basically the exact same thing, except, well, everything is just flipped. So all of these are now bearish, of course, below VWAP, below the prior low, and I want something below a VWAP E. So with that being said, hopefully you can try out this scanner. If you have Option Stalker Pro, I have uploaded it into the custom scanners resources in or on the One Option site, so you should be able to find it. Should just be called Grinder if I remember correctly, but it's in there somewhere. And by the way, if you are struggling with this exact question here of I got the market right, but my stock lost relative strength and it didn't move up with the market. This system doesn't work. I will just trade SPY instead. Well, check out this article that I wrote on the Real Day Trading subreddit a few days ago. I go over this exact scenario where you're trading a stock, everything looks nice, had relative strength while the market was dipping. Here, we'll just take a look at this. This was OGN on Friday. Notice how the market was kind of pulling back, chopping around. It was below VWAP. What did this thing do? It was able to hold the gap very nicely, had a nice move up. You can see great relative strength, nice volume. As soon as SPY breaks above VWAP, you're like, yup, I want to go long this thing. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you go long, what happens? The bottom of the stock falls out. Meanwhile, the market just continues to gradually grind higher. And you're like, what the heck? This is so stupid. Why did this thing drop the moment I entered it while the market grinded higher? And honestly, let's just face it, sometimes you enter a trade and it just doesn't work out. You're not going to get everything right all the time. But in the case of OGN, this is what the daily chart looked like at the end of the day on Friday. You can notice right here we had a nice breakout through horizontal resistance. Okay, that was a nice earnings reaction, nice bullish hammer off of the 50 SMA. Okay, and then the next day gapped up with the market, and that's where it kind of sold off. But overall, it has the D1 qualities we're looking for. It has relative strength, it has the technical breakout, and it has the heavy volume. So what am I getting at here? Well, the daily chart looks excellent. So you should consider leaning on the fact that you have a nice daily chart. Is it possible that you can lean on the longer term strength and the breakout here to perhaps, one, have conviction in the trade that this could just be profit taking, whatever the case, and two, you size your trade appropriately so that you can lean on the D1 chart, meaning you're not using all of your 4-to-1 day trading margin on just this one trade, but you're sizing appropriately so that if it does go against you, like it did on Friday, you still have some staying power. Now, of course, remember that you want to at least have a slightly neutral to slightly bullish market bias, pretty much anything in the range of neutral to bullish bias, in my opinion, to comfortably lean on a D1 chart or the longer term strength. You don't want to just lean on the daily for, I don't know, a short when the market is making new all-time highs on huge volume. That's probably not going to work out very well for you. But regardless, just remember the market context. And by the way, what am I really getting at here? Well, guess what? Guess what happened on Monday? This. The market gapped up, all right? This thing opened flat, not really doing anything, but look at it. It started to pick up some momentum. And look at that. The volume was increasing as well. It had excellent relative strength. Meanwhile, the market is doing absolutely nothing. And what happened by the end of the day? Look at that. This looks exactly like the kind of stock we're trying to find in this custom grinder scanner. Beautiful grind higher. What was all of this noise here the prior day or on Friday? I don't know. All I know is that by the end of the close, the D1 chart and technical breakout was still holding. And my thesis was that, well, this is perhaps some profit taking. We're just testing the bid to see are buyers going to support this breakout. And what do you know? The next day, beautiful grind higher. So if you panicked out of here because it broke below VWAP, because you completely oversized the trade and you exited, had you just waited another day to see if that D1 breakout holds, you would have had a beautiful winner right here. So just keep that in mind. Do your walkaway analysis, meaning you exit your trade, see what was the stock doing 5 minutes later, what was it doing an hour after you exit, what was it doing by the end of the trading session, what was it doing by the end of the next day's trading session, and what was it doing a week after, to see if you are perhaps exiting a little bit early when you could potentially be holding it for longer. That's why the walkaway analysis is so powerful. And guess what? This is exactly what happened with OGN. This was simply just a bid check or some profit taking. And the next day, buyers were like, yep, I want to buy this. Look at this beautiful bullish engulfing candle that formed the next day. So again, just remember that not always the case, but oftentimes, if you size more appropriately for the daily chart, you can trim out some of the noise like this that had to happen on OGN on Friday and let that longer term strength guide the stock higher. Or in the case of a weak stock, let it grind back lower. Sometimes relative strength comes and goes on a 5-minute basis, and that is especially so when you have a market that looks like this. And in the case of Friday, where was Friday? We had this nice big gap up, and then we pretty much just compressed the entire day doing pretty much nothing. So that's not really much of a market tailwind to push your day trade. So in my opinion, giving yourself the room to lean on the daily chart becomes even more important on those environments. Just remember that context is really, really important. You can't just willy-nilly lean on the daily chart if you look at the SPY D1 chart and there's stacked red candles just blasting through technical support because banks just failed. Well, everything's going to fall in that case. So anyways, I'm going to link this in the description. Please check this out and also try out this custom scanner. Maybe you will find that there are some other better parameters or perhaps other ways we can fine tune this to keep out some of the, I don't know, we'll call it noise. But overall, I find that it works really well for both the long and the short side, and it's able to produce nice results halfway through the day. All right. Hope this was helpful, and I will see all of you next time.